All right, guys, here's the lineup. All right, guys, here's the lineup. So we're almost done moving those logs out front. I'm actually going to get to that as soon as we're done doing this little chainsaw. It's not really a review, but just kind of showing you through the three main sizes of chainsaw. And this works for anybody. So any brand, you know, I run Stihl because that's what the dealers around me carry. I have a lot of Stihl dealers within 10 to 15 minutes of me. I do not have any Husqvarna dealers that are within 30 minutes of me. So I've been running Stihl chainsaws for a long time. I like them. They have always run well for me. They've been super reliable. So that's why I run them. I don't have anything against Husqvarna or Mac or anybody else out there, Echo. You know, this is just what I prefer and what most of my local dealers carry. So, but again, this is all about size comparison. So with any of those brands, Husqvarna, Echo, Stihl, anybody else, you know, you've got your three main sizes in your 50cc, your 70cc, your 90cc, and then, you know, you can go up to your 100 plus cc, like if you got the 880 or I think it's the 752 or something like that. I don't know what the Husqvarna models are, but primarily for, I mean, really anything between farm work, homeowner, professional, tree companies. You know, this is mainly what they're going to run, you know, these three size saws. So I'm going to talk to you about why I bought each one of these and what I primarily use them for. Now, the very first saw I bought, which is not in this lineup today, was a Stihl Farm Boss. That is another 50cc saw, a homeowner saw or a farm and ranch saw. And that was, I think that model was the 290 back then. That was about 15 years ago. And actually, that was longer than that. Holy smokes! That I probably bought that saw, maybe close to 20 years ago. Now I think the Stihl Farm Boss is the 271 model. So same saw, 50 cc's. That was and still is a very good saw for me. That thing runs great, and I did not take good care of that saw. So that kind of got me hooked on Stihl right there. Once I really put that thing through its paces and had absolutely zero issues with it. The next saw I bought was this 660, and I bought this when I bought my property I live at now. I had about 30 trees to take down, a lot of big sycamores. If any of you guys have sycamores on your property, especially if you have any creek or some wetland, those things grow enormous. So I had a couple that were probably 3 to 4 feet in diameter, and I just wanted a big saw to be able to get through those. I knew I had a lot of cutting to do. I wanted a big, powerful saw, and this is kind of what I went with. I bought this saw. I'm gonna jump off on a little tangent here because this saw also got me hooked up with the dealer where I buy almost all of my steel equipment from. They're a Bestline dealer close to me, and I actually walked out of there with I think it was a 361 at the time, and I ran it one time and I was just like, I really wish I would have got the 660. I want the bigger, I want the 90cc saw. So I actually took it back. I cut down one tree with it. I didn't use it a whole lot. Took it right back to the dealer and said, is there any chance you'll exchange me this for a 660? And they did it. They didn't even hesitate. So right there, I was kind of sold on their customer service, and I've been buying and renting a lot of equipment from them ever since. So I bought this saw, again, primarily to take down some big trees, and then I knew I wanted to do some milling with it too. I bought an Alaskan sawmill, and these are one of the better saws. Like a 90cc saw is a really good option for those Alaskan sawmills. So another reason I wanted to buy this 660. After running this thing for a couple years, it is a big, heavy saw. Not something you really want to do cutting with on a regular basis. Works great in the mill, works great for large trees, but not something you want to be carrying around in the woods and doing a lot of cutting with, especially if you're cutting all day. It's just a big, heavy saw. Has the 25-inch bar on it. I mean, you can run I have a 3-foot bar for this thing too, which it runs no problem. But I have just the regular, this isn't the light model, this is just the Stihl's regular 25-inch bar. So, and that has cut anything I've needed it to. So, after running this for a long time, and then knowing that I didn't want to primarily run this to cut firewood, I ended up buying the 261. I got this saw about 4 years ago, and this is just a super light 50cc saw that, you know, you can run a 20-inch bar on. The power head on this thing is 10.8 pounds, so very light power head for the weight that, or for the power that this thing puts out. The 462 has a 10.2 pounds power head, and the Stihl has a 16.5 pound power head. So 16.5, 13.2, so 3 pounds less on this saw, and then 10.8. So you got, you know, roughly a 3 pound difference between each one of these. They're 50cc, they're 70cc, they're 90cc. So bought this saw about 4 or maybe 5 years ago. I knew I wanted another 50cc saw, something lightweight, and I wanted their professional line, just because you get the magnesium body on it, which saves you a little bit of weight, makes a little more power, and the M-Tronic on these things works really, really well. So it's super reliable. It compensates for how dirty the air filter is, compensates for elevation, for outside temperature. So it's really like you don't have to make any adjustments to this thing. You just fire it up and it runs at its top all the time with that M-Tronic system. So bought that saw to, you know, do most of my firewood cutting, and ran that for a couple years. Really enjoyed how lightweight that saw was, but after running this for a couple years and running this for a couple years, I knew I wanted something with more power but still lightweight. I didn't want to lug around a 20-pound saw with the bar on it to do most of my cutting. but I wanted more power than the 50cc saw put out. So that's where I bought this 462. I bought this last year or the year before. I think I bought this 2 years ago. 70 cc's is the sweet spot, and this is by far my favorite saw in my lineup. It is the saw I use 90% of the time. It's got plenty of power to cut through all your big lumber. It's got it's pretty lightweight, so no problem cutting with this thing all day, carrying it through the woods. It is just a good saw. Great power to weight ratio, very reliable. Again, has the Amtronic system on it. So these 70cc saws, I think these are the sweet spot. If I had to pick one saw out of all three of these, this will be the one I would go with. It can do everything. You can run a big bar on it, so you're not bending over as far when you're cutting your firewood, which is another big bonus. You know, even that 25-inch bar is pretty good, but a 28-inch bar or a 32-inch bar would be really nice on this saw for bucking up your logs. And the power is just phenomenal. So I also put a bark box on this thing, which I don't know if it adds any power, but it sounds really good. So it's just a fun saw to run, great power, still pretty lightweight, and just runs extremely well. So I can't say enough good things about this saw, but this is definitely my pick out of these three. I still have plenty of use for the other ones. You know, this 660, we're actually gonna put this into the Alaskan mill soon, put the 36-inch bar on it, put this into the mill, and I have a big slab of, or a big white oak tree that came down a couple years ago. So I want to cut that up, and I want to cut a couple slabs out of it. So we're going to use that quite a bit this winter to work on that tree. We're going to cut a lot of firewood with this guy. And then this 261 is great for limbing. So it's primarily what I use that saw for now. Just cutting up, you know, small stuff, doing some limbing with it. Just an easy, small, light package to throw in the side-by-side. And, you know, if you're doing some trail maintenance, it's great for that. You know, if you're just doing some light cutting or emergency use, it's really good for that. So definitely plenty of use for all three of these. So, you know, if you can afford three saws, I think this is the perfect lineup: a 50, a 70, and a 90cc. If you can only afford one saw and you want it to do everything, you know, small cutting, big cutting, any size tree, 70ccs is going to be the ticket. Definitely go with that. You know, and if you're just doing a lot of small stuff, those 50cc saws are great. So we're going to cut up just a couple pieces I brought down because it's starting to get dark, so I don't want to cut a whole lot. But I really want to show you the difference between this 50cc and this 70cc. I do not have the exact same chain on these. This 50cc, I'm running that new Oregon chain, and I put the same chain on this, but it didn't work out. So I ended up, it got loose on me twice. The first time I caught it and was able to tighten it. The second time it popped off on me while I was in a piece of wood, and it actually chipped, or the guide teeth underneath, it damaged a couple of them. So I'm gonna have to try to file them down, but I can't run that in that bar anymore. So back to the steel saw, or back to the steel chain. But that chain is really sharp, so I just sharpened that this morning. It was sharp when I touched it up, so that thing, it actually might be a little sharper than that Oregon out of the box that I'm gonna run on this 261. But you'll see the difference when I cut into those logs, how much faster this 70cc saw runs. This 660, you know, I'm really just gonna run it just to run it a little bit, because I haven't run this saw in a long time, probably well over a year. So I just put some fresh gas in it. Hopefully it fires up okay. and just want to get a little cut time on it to kind of get it back into the mix here. So. We're going to warm up the 261 and the 462. We'll cut with those first. have you back. Let's work on this cherry. That chain's cutting really nice. All right, let's go 261 on this piece. But it's dark with those on. So I think you could probably see the difference when I'm cutting with that 261, how much faster that 462 is. And that's why I love that saw so much, because for the weight and the power, this thing actually has the best power to weight ratio in its class. But any 70cc saw, you know, the power is just perfect for bucking up logs. All right, let's fire up that 660, see how that old guy does. She gonna fire up. Ooh, almost. All right, guys, it's going to wrap things up for today. So that was just a quick comparison showing you the difference between a 50, 70, and 90cc saw. So I hope that was helpful for anybody looking to either buy their first saw or maybe upgrade what you currently have to a bigger or possibly even smaller size saw. And you know, we just did a quick demo in, I think I said locust, but I had a couple oak logs that we actually cut up, and then that one cherry. So you know, we finally got the log yard pretty well set up down here. We're starting to cut some firewood, so things are finally moving along here, and hopefully we'll be splitting and stacking wood pretty soon. So thanks for joining us. If you like the content, please subscribe, hit that like button. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know, and we will see you on the next one.